Hello class, welcome back to another flip lesson. Today we're going to talk about perfect squares and square roots in this lesson. So get your note sheet ready that I gave out in class and something to write with. The review it section is something you should always complete before you start the lesson. We started it in class. If you didn't get it done, go ahead and pause the video and complete that section. Remember that this is going to be the expanded version of each one of these numbers, and this column will be the simplified answer. The know it section has some vocabulary that we'll need to know. So let's start with that first sentence. I'm looking for something that is what we call a math operation where a number is multiplied by itself. Notice that it's only multiplied by itself one time. So when we do that, we are squaring a number. And we use exponential form. We'll use exponential form to represent a number squared. What that means is, we know from our vocabulary, exponential form is some number with a power. And when you're squaring a number, you will only have the power of 2. So for example, you have 3 squared. Perfect squares are whole numbers, and this is the important part, they are whole numbers which are squared. The exponent will always be a 2. So here's an example of a perfect square. This is a whole number and the exponent is 2. So I want you to label those parts. These are our vocabulary words. Label those parts of that perfect square. An example of a perfect square is the area of a square. Here's a nice square. It's a perfect square, and we want to find the area of that. So the area of any square is going to be one of the sides, and then we're going to square it. When we write the actual formula, we write area S squared, where S means that's going to be one length of your side. So looking at this square, I want to know the length of one side. 1, 2, 3. So one side is 3. I do not need to label the other sides because it's a square, and a square has equal sides. So I use my formula, area equals side square, and I'm going to put in what I know. I know that one side is 3, and I can square that 3. So I know the area is 9 units. So that is a perfect square. It's got a whole number and it's squared. And if I count the little boxes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, it is 9 units. So now that I know what a perfect square is, a whole number squared, I can do square roots. Square roots are math operations that represent a number which has been squared. So I already have a squared value. And I am actually, when I do a square root is like undo a squared number. And we show square roots using a math symbol, which we call a radical sign. And we've talked about this as we did our vocabulary words this week. So when simplifying square roots, the answers can be positive or negative numbers. And oftentimes we forget about those negative numbers. So let's look at a couple examples for a positive, and then let's look at a negative example. So we have a square root of 121. Square root of 121. Well, if I want the positive version of the square root of 121, the square root is 11, because I need a number that multiplied by itself will equal this number underneath. So 11 times 11 equals 121. It is undoing a squared number. So undo 11 squared and you get 11. But think about a negative number. If I had negative 11 times negative 11. Is that still 121? Well, yes, because a negative times a negative is a positive. So the negative square root of 121 will be negative 11. This is what a square root looks like. You should know what the parts are called, so label those on your own. And then we're going to finish it off with an example for square roots. So looking at the area again, we know the area of a square is sides squared. The formula is A equals S squared, where S is one of the sides. Now the problem here is I have the area. I know it's 81, but I don't know how much one of these sides is going to be. I want to know that length. So I know I have 81 and I have sides squared. Well, what is that S going to be? What two numbers multiplied together is going to give me 81? I need two sides of the same length to equal 81. Well, to do that, we can undo by using the radical symbol. The square root of 81 is going to be equal to my side. So what two numbers can I multiply together to get 81? And that would be 9.